Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 7th of August, 2014. It is 4 p.m. Central European Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern. And this is Turn 2 episode 30.5. Because yesterday we did have a great special with Ben Brode and Gnimsh being able to go through an hour of questions regarding Naxxramas. But today we want to cover all kinds of cool topics relating to Naxxramas Military Wing release and its impact on the metagame, all the tournaments such as WEC, Prismatic Cup, and a little bit of drama and team acquisitions and roster changes. All this and more on today's episode, but don't let me get carried away too much on what we're going to talk about. I do have some introductions. My name is Dan Frodan. I'm a commentator as well as a manager from Team Tempestorm. On the panel, we have a host that's always here is Marcin Gnimsh Filipovic, team captain of Cloud9. How you doing, Gnimsh?
I'm great. I'm great. It's good to be here again. It was great to be here yesterday. Well, I was waiting for you, but I guess you're here now, so it's great. Thank you for hosting today's episode, and I'm going to have fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm a little late. I'm 24 hours late if you're kind of counting. But, who cares? Love keeps no records of wrong. We have a guest as well. It's Dan Alchemixt Walton, extraordinaire from Curse, aggro specialist, and the runner-up to WEC North America, but not really runner-up because the two guys who qualify get equal amount of prize money for just going to China. How's it going, Dan?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Cool. So before we go into any kind of further discussion on what's been happening, can you kind of introduce yourself to people who are listening to your voice for the first time?
Sure. I'm Dan Walton. You probably know me as Alchemixt. I play for Team Curse. I've been playing pretty much since the Hearthstone beta, and it's pretty much it.
Cool. And I mean, some people who don't necessarily follow the pro scene, do you have any notable achievements other than WC, which we'll talk about later today, that you kind of want to toss into the ring?
Sure. I won the iHearth King of the Hill 4 times. I won both my matches on Deck Wars Season 1 and 2. I've got first place at 3 NESL events. And garbage truck.
Don't worry about the garbage truck.
All right. And
Oh, you muted your mic. Oh, that's very polite.
yeah,
for
it's
the
right
viewers.
outside my. It was really getting really loud, but yeah. I mean, I play in lots of local. I guess not really local, weekly tournaments online. So yeah.
Great. That's right. Alchemix is one of those stories of a pro player kind of carving his name by just working hard, signing up for wherever he can, and just establishing his brand through proving it multiple times over. And I think it's been highlighted, underlined, if you will, through WC North America.
I think like right now, Alchemist is even like top 10 Ghost of Gamers ranking in the world. So he's consistently there, and keeping his place. Like, well, Dan Alchemist. Well, you're one of the two members of Team Curse. Do you plan like getting more members, or are you fine with like two people right now?
All right. So basically, the reason why we got 4 people so quickly in the beginning was because our plan, or what we were going to try to do, was get on Fight Night, and then that whole thing stopped right as
About that. I mean,
so I guess, I mean, I don't know anything for sure. They haven't like directly said yes or no, but what I'm getting from them basically is, until there's more reason to have more than 2 people, then I guess we're not really rushing anything. So I guess if like some huge Fight Night type multiple team league comes up that requires 4 players, then we'd probably be searching for 2 extra players, I'm assuming. But until that happens, we're just fine as we are.
Cool. Also, like, you're known as one of the very creative deck builders, because a lot of people say like if they have you in the bracket, like they can expect anything. That it's really hard to predict like what are you going to play, because you play really interesting decks in every tournament, bringing your own builds. So, do you have any card game background? Like, did you play any TCGs before, or are you just video games, and like do you have like video game background?
I played Magic the Gathering for pretty much most of my life, on and off, since I was really young, and then I got pretty competitive in it for the past 5 or 6 years. So I don't know. I didn't go and like win any pro tours or anything, but I placed really well at lots of weeklies. I played in some other like Star City Games open tournaments, and I've top aided a few of those. So I've definitely have a lot of Magic background, anyways.
Okay,
Great.
that sounds good.
I mean, it just clearly shows that you have a good demonstration of card game mechanics and skill. I think a lot of people didn't really know what to expect from you because, quite honestly, the I Hearth You King of the Hill is great exposure, but that's more of a reoccurring thing. It doesn't have those 40 to 50,000 people watching you compared to WEC. And people were probably kind of pleasantly surprised to see another person kind of take down these popular names that you always see, Strife Crow. You always see like a Maz destroying these tournaments. And all of a sudden, when they're playing on the lower end of the bracket, and then all of a sudden the winner's bracket is Firebat and Alchemixt in the top two, they're like, "What? Who are these guys? How come I haven't heard of them earlier? Maybe I've seen their name in the list of top 100 finishers and on ladder at the end of a season, but I haven't actually seen them play. Really cool. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But before we go into that, we also want to just hit upon what's been the hot topic every single week in recent memory is Naxxramas military ring has been released. The military quarter this week has featured 6 cards, including 2 class challenges of Shaman and Warlock with Reincarnate and the Void Caller. The military quarter features 3 bosses just like you guys normally do, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit interesting because the dynamic this week is not necessarily about high health totals, but about getting through the Horsemen before you're able to kill Baron Rivendare. Now, the wing has been out for 2 days, which is unusual for turn 2 customs because normally we have like 5 hours to test the quarter and then try to come up with discussion. But today we have kind of a whole day and a half under our belts. So what's our first impression here? Let's talk about the solo adventures first, because a lot of people do like to play that casual one-player aspect of it against the PC. What are you guys' impressions of the military quarter compared to previous weeks? I'll start with you, Gnimsh.
Okay, so I had a pleasure to complete them yesterday on stream. Yeah, I feel like they were pretty interesting. Basically, I felt like the wing is a bit more difficult than the previous ones. So like the Arachnid Quarter was pretty easy. I basically one-shotted everything. The Plague Wing, as you could see, and the hotel room on the iPad, I also one-shotted those bosses.
Yeah.
So, and yesterday I actually killed Lothab by chance. Like I just because I had this heroic Lothab left, and I just took a priest for fun, and I was like, oh, I just won. Like how did that even happen? And but coming to the military wing, well, it was pretty interesting. Razuvius was pretty annoying with the sword that actually deals 20 damage. I'm talking about heroic mode right now. So the sword was pretty dangerous, and also like the brawl. So it's like you really have to set up a taunt and be able to protect yourself from the sword. But on the other hand, you can't overextend because he can always brawl. So it was kind of interesting there. I killed him with a priest, just stealing his weapon and dealing 20 damage back to his face. And
Wow.
so it was pretty interesting. Like Gothic also, it's pretty cool with like card draw and the crystals because he ramps so fast. Also like spawns those ghosts on your side of the board, like filling the board. I think I also defeated him with priest. We kind of went into attrition war, and somehow he ran out of cards, even though he's drawing like 2 cards each turn.
Sure.
So that was pretty funny. And four riders of Apocalypse, so like Baron Rivendare and the dudes. That one was pretty tough. Like I wasn't able to just defeat him with any just standard deck. So I went into like combo modes and I tried different stuff. I wanted to like use Cabal Shadow Priest, and but it was kind of too slow because those guys have to attack on heroic mode. So it's like 6 damage each turn. When he plays the sword, it's even more because it's 8. So you go down really quickly. So in the end, like my viewers advised to just play Hunter, and I actually switched to Hunter with like Hunter's Mark and stuff, and some Silence and Kodos. And it worked. I mean, like I killed him only because I topped the kill command, so I nimshed him in the end. But with success, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, this week I thought was really fun as well. I pretty much used the same tactics. I stuck with Priest throughout. It just felt like it was really good relative to like that one mana do 4 damage with hero power. That's just so crazy. So I figured I needed to heal a lot. So that's what I kind of approached it. When it came to Baron Rivendare, I actually just went for a Mass Dispel, and when I did, it doesn't activate the trigger of the weapon to gain plus attack. So I just went Mind Blast and Holy Smite, and I actually killed him. So that wasn't actually that hard for me conveniently, but I think I also got lucky with draws because he didn't really do anything for the first few turns. Alchemist, did you get a chance to play the military quarter at all, or did you just kind of grab the cards and went to the ladder and try to see how high you can climb?
No, I played it last night. I feel like the normal modes are always just take whatever you want and you'll probably win.
Sure,
But
sure.
let's see, the first heroic guy I did with Priest with like the Inner Fire Divine Spirit combo because that was the one where you stole his O7s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right off the
So,
bat. They give you that 1 mana cost card that all of a sudden takes control of
yep.
it.
So I used Priest for that, and then the second one I tried to just find where I tried to find the list right now, but I couldn't find it. But I was on Reddit and there's like this pretty cool warrior deck that was designed to like fatigue out the second boss. So you played like Cold Light Oracles and Death Lords and all these taunts and two brawls. And I was like, I don't know if that will work. And then I tried it and I got him on the first try, so that was pretty cool. And then I used Priest with silences for the Baron, the Four Horsemen.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that seems to be one of the primary ways to get it. I even heard Ben Bro talk about creative ways people did it with, what was it, Crazed Alchemist and Betrayal on the Middle Horseman. So that way he kills his own allies, and then you just kind of easy remove it from that point on. And then Bro
Crazed
gets so many ways to
Alchemist.
direct damage. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I tried to do that because I watched the episode and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I tried it, but I just never got the combo in like 3 games. So then I just switched to something else and did that.
Just instant concede if you don't have it in your opening hand.
Pretty
Makes
pretty
sense.
much.
Sure, sure. Well, we hope we give you some advice and some insight. We don't want to spoil on how to beat it exactly in terms of all the gruesome details, but we do encourage everyone to give it a try. Heroic mode is there to challenge players. It's the puzzles that people have been requesting and looking for, so it's always been fun. But with the quarter, it comes 6 new cards, 4 neutral, and the Shaman and Warlock cards specifically for Nax Ramus. We can talk about all 6 of them in depth and just talk about thoughts on the cards and maybe if we've seen it in play and maybe it changed our opinion because we kind of went over this in the weeks leading up to Next Ramus. But at the same time, we haven't really gone in depth now that we've seen them in play for a little bit. So let's start with the top left one here on I have Hearthstone pulled up. Maybe you have the iHearthU site. Whatever we're looking at, I'm looking at the Dancing Swords 3 mana cost 4/4, which has Death Rattle. Your opponent draws a card. Now I've seen only one class attempt this, and it was a Mill Druid, and it was totally troll at like rank 6 or 7. And that was like earlier this morning. I have not seen a practical use of this. It feels like a poor man's Mookla, but I don't know if you guys have any opinions or alternative uses for it. What do you think, Alchemist?
Um, I'm not really sure. I guess you could use it in a deck like that, which I think is fun, but probably not the most competitive. And then maybe you can do something with like the I don't think it's out yet. The Wailing Souls. That's the one that
Yeah.
silences all your guys. I mean, maybe you can use that if you have enough. If you have enough other cards that benefit from it. But overall, I can't see this getting that much play.
People make a lot of comparisons to something like the injured Blade Master or something because it has slightly higher health and you don't need another card to kind of boost it. But I think that 4 health is not that big a difference from 3 health compared to 5 to 4. In a lot of cases, people make those comparisons. Gnimsh, do you kind of agree with Alchemixt? Do you feel like Dancing Sword's a little underwhelming here until more cards come out?
I definitely agree about that. Even before I comment on the sword, I want to call this wing the Wing of Wombo combo because those cards just create a
Baron
crazy
Riven
meta
there.
game. So yeah, but basically Dancing Swords, I totally agree with Alchemist here. This card really needs Wailing Soul to work just for now. So it's not that exciting, but it's a decent card. It's like a 4/4 for 3 mana. It's always good. It's above the curve. So if we are able to use the throttle to our advantage instead of being a disadvantage, then the card will be good. So for now, maybe not really in the current metagame, but this is definitely a cool deck building tool that you can use in the future.
Yeah, at first I thought when we saw this card, it was first previewed without any text, so we just saw those dancing swords. We assumed maybe it was a neutral weapon, but then Blizzard specifically said that they don't want something like a neutral weapon, at least not yet, because they want certain classes to have a feel like they play weapons versus like mage, you don't really have weapons, you have spells. So maybe something like that in the future. I thought maybe it was like a death rattle, your opponent gets like a 1/1 weapon or something. But regardless, this is exactly what we get. Maybe we can see future combos, but for now, we can put this one to rest. Second card is much more interesting. It's a 5 mana cost card called Spectral Knight, and it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, similar to Fairy Dragon and the Laughing Sister. Oh, and also it's an incredible body at 4/6 and not being able to be targeted. Some people coin this as the Miracle Rogue nightmare, right? The headache. You just basically give Miracle Rogue the toughest time to deal with it. But I'm not exactly sold just yet because I haven't seen it be able to slide into many decks other than Druid. Gnimsh, do you have anything to kind of talk about Spectral Knight? Do you have any first impressions?
Well, yeah, Spectral Knight is the card. This card is so good. It's so stable on turn 5 before 6. If you can coin it earlier, it's like compared to the previous Azure Drake on turn 5, this guy is so strong and has so much potential. Like versus the popular decks, like Druids, Miracle Rogue, all the decks that actually use spells as removal, and especially decks that don't play minions before, like Miracle Rogue. This card is so good. I want to quote Ecop because like Ecop was saying something today on stream about this card. It's like this making it a bit let's say simpler. This card F's Miracle Rogues in the backside single-handedly.
Sure.
Kind of like he obviously said it differently, but how to paraphrase it. So yeah, definitely a very strong card. 4 attack again versus Priest. Oh my god. So this card is in all those minion decks that really try to snowball, and you just drop the Spectral Knight and they will have problems to remove it. Like you can, if you taunt Spectral Knight, you can remove it with Black Knight, but other than that, like 6 health is insane, 4 attack is insane, and the power insane again.
So are you saying that the Spectral Knight is too strong, or are you saying that you feel like this is just a really like important card and you really like it? I mean, I'm trying to gauge the power level here. Are you saying
Sure.
that it should be auto include kind of like Loatheb because you're saying Azure Drake and you're making comparisons, and Azure Drake was a card people feel like you can slide in almost any deck.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Spectral Knight is less versatile than Azure Drake because Azure Drake was always netting you a card, and Spectral Knight has a role in the deck. Like when you drop Spectral Knight, you want to you build. It's like sending a message. Like you build a very strong board presence at that moment, and you will be able to push some points of damage there. So in decks that are minion based, kind of like mid range, this card as being a follow up to a solid 4-drop before and having a strong follow-up on turn 6 is pretty strong, but it won't fit any deck because in like Loatheb is a bit different because Loatheb is like anti-deck and you can play it at any turn to counter your opponent. This guy is like following on a certain deck strategy. So I feel like it's a very strong card, but I don't think like it's OP because well, it can be countered. Well, if you have minions, you can trade into it. You can do some other stuff, but definitely the metagame might evolve around this card a bit. Like, it's a very cool addition to those stable decks that just play minions instead of the other cards that we'll be discussing in a moment that are more combo like.
Sure.
So I guess that's it from my side. Dan, you there still?
Hello. Oh, sorry. I cut out a little bit there. I missed the end of that sentence. All I heard was "so," and then you cut off. I was like, "Ah,
Oh, sure, no
what's
worries.
something on?"
No,
Can
it's
you
good.
just
It's good.
what were you saying last second? Sorry about this awkward moment. What was the last thing you said before we got us so I can try to jump off that point?
I'm actually not sure what I said, so I can repeat everything if you want.
No worries. I think the general idea with Spectral Knight is it's going to be useful. Some decks will use it, and you're kind of emphasizing how it's just really stable and it gives you strong core mid game without just dropping something and risking it to just get easily removed. And your opponent gains a lot of tempo from something simple like an Eviscerate, like a spell power Eviscerate, almost take care of everything mid game. This is a little bit more stable, so that way you have ability to respond and fight for board control. Alchemixt, do you have anything to follow up on Spectral Knight? Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. It seems like it's really solid. I like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been mentioned a bunch of times, but like I like that they're putting in these really good 5-drops now because now you can choose between Drake, Sludge Belcher, and now Spectral Knight, and then you have Loatheb also. So I think that's pretty cool. But one thing that I was talking to Brad from DKMR, and he was saying that, and I think it's a pretty good point that like Paladin is already starting to see a lot more play just for whatever reason, and they actually have a few of they're like the only class that actually has like really easy ways to deal with the Spectral Knight because you can Eldar Peacekeeper it, and then you have Equality, and then you also have all the like taunt minions and stuff that if you don't have the Peacekeeper or an Equality to get rid of it, then you can pretty much make it trade into your guys instead of and kind of ignoring it that way. So I thought that was pretty cool. So maybe like indirectly, and Paladin can play it too if you want to, I guess. So I thought that was a pretty cool point.
Yeah, I think that might just make people feel more confident playing Paladin. People already feel
Right.
more comfortable with things like the Belchers. And now that you have responses to Spectrum Knight, maybe that gives them more stability, which is good. We haven't seen Paladin. Truth be told, a lot of these best of fives, best of threes that happen in tournaments, they've been dragged out a lot longer because of Paladin. The games have been much more epic, so I'm not really complaining. Although sometimes we get Paladin versus Paladin, and then I say, well, where's my coffee machine? I need to kind of stay away for a little bit for at least turns 1 through 10 or 12. So I think it's going to be cool to see more diversity of the classes having interesting interactions with Spectral Knight. Now, one thing, speaking of interaction, one thing that has been brought up is the fact that is this kind of mechanic healthy for Hearthstone? Is it okay to have this lack of targetability? There's no name for the mechanic just yet, but things like Magic, and even chat's even talking about it. I'm looking at it right now. I think they called it hexproof or
Yep.
shroud
Yeah.
or whatever equivalent to those things. I kind of forgot which one was which because I didn't play Magic that in depth. But you have these mechanics inside those games, and people felt like that was really uninteractive because if these minions have really strong stats and you can't use half of your cards, which is spells, how are you supposed to interact with it? Do you feel like this is the case with these kinds of mechanics now that we have a year of Hearthstone? How do you feel like it interacts with the game? I'm throwing it to you, Alchemixt.
Um, yeah, I think it's okay to have the shroud effects, which means that, like from Magic, shroud is no one can target it, and then hexproof means your opponent can't target it. So I think the shroud effects, where both of you can't mess with it, is okay as long as it's not overused. But when you have, if you have it like let's say Leroy had shroud and you couldn't shadow step it, like that card would be a lot worse. So if you kind of trying to figure out how to say this. Basically, I think as long as you can't buff your own shrouded minions yourself, then I think it's okay as long as they're not like too good and you can't build like an entire deck. Because like if you have like two fairy dragons, two of these, and then they come out with like four to six more of these creatures that you can put in your deck, then I think that could be not only like really good, but it's also really annoying and not fun to play against because your opponent's doing all this stuff and you literally just can't deal with any of it. So I can see why people would think that it's like unhealthy for the game. But I think as long as you keep it to just very limited amount of cards, then it's probably okay. That's my opinion.
Sure. Gnimsh, do you have anything to follow up on from maybe the WoW TCG? Is there anything like this in WoW TCG?
Oh man, we had like the hexproof thing, which was called Spell Shield. We also obviously had like Untargettable. Night Elves actually had a pretty nice ability called Shadow Melt. It's like when you play a Night Elf and it has Shadow Melt, it can't be targeted and it can't be attacked because it's like hidden. So it's invisible for others. But when you attack with the Night Elf, it can be attacked. But anyways. I agree. I totally agree with Alchemixt, and I like the fact that Blizzard only released this one Spectral Knight to test the waters. The thing is also, it's not like we can't interact with the card in total because you can silence it with like mass silence spells. You can use AOE, and you can also use the minions to interact with it. The problem is like you can actually buff this guy with the minions, like Defender of Argus, for example. So it's actually it might get bigger. So yeah, I totally agree with what Alchemist said. With more of those kinds of minions, it will be unfun to not fun to play because you won't be able to use the cards you have, and metagame will change to a weird direction where spells are not really that good, and we only play AOE cards, and AOE cards are reactive cards, so it's not fun to play because if you don't draw them, you just lose, which is bad as well. So yeah, for now I think it's fine because it counters all those super popular games, and I hope that it will actually like change the metagame so that people stop playing Miracle Rogue that much, and we'll look for different kinds of decks. But it's definitely a dangerous card design-wise, and will have to be tracked.
Yeah, I think this is one card that maybe Rogue finally can't use it as their own weapon right? The
Yeah.
joke is pretty much whatever is good against Miracle Rogue can just use it. Like Lotheb, like the Web Lord increases battle cry cost. Like all those can be put in Miracle Rogue. Spectral Knight, you can't really Shadow Step it. You can't Cold Blood it. For the life of me, you can't really do much with it with Miracle Rogue. So it seems like this is a card that's actually good against it. And I think the purpose of the cards is what Naxxramas wants, which is minions that are sticking to the board, not easily dealt with. Forces you to fight for more board development as opposed to just sitting there with your combo pieces, stacking 5 or 6 cards and waiting for the optimal mana. So I like where the direction is going, but I completely side with you guys. I don't want too many of these. We have 3 of them in the game at the moment, and that's good enough for me, at least with the current card pool. Let's move on to
one more thing about the Spectral Knight, which we didn't mention, and it's kind of hidden. I like the flavor of the card because it's a Death Knight, and we don't have that many Death Knights in the game. Also, when it attacks, it makes a sound for the Lich King, and then there's 4 Kel'Thuzad, which brings kind of like a Scourge theme to the game, where Scourge being like the undead guys serving Arthas. So I really enjoy this card lore-wise as well, because it brings the undead and the Scourge and stuff with Naxxramas.
Yeah, it's cool. I actually play with the sound off because it was early in the morning and I didn't really want to listen to much. So I didn't even hear the battle cry of it, but that's cool. I'll turn it on and maybe check it out and explore a little bit more of that lore. Thanks for that, Gnimsh. We have our third card here, which is Death Lord. It's a card that's been talked about a little bit of its pros and cons. It's a 3 mana cost card that says Taunt and Death Rattle. Your opponent puts a minion from their deck into the battlefield. It has 2 attack and 8 health. So basically 2 Silverback Patriarchs put in 1. Now, this card, I have a lot of mixed opinions. I've actually played it a lot in Priest because I feel like that's where you get the most run for your money. And more often than not, like a minion that comes out, Priest can kind of deal with it immediately. I've been toying around with the idea. Like it, but don't love it. Do you guys have any thoughts or first impressions on Death Lord? Is it the Zoo Killer that everyone's been touting it to be? Alchemixt.
Is it the Zoo Killer? I don't think so, but I think it's interesting that this could actually see play in Zoo. I don't know. This is really one of those cards that it's really kind of hard to just make a good guess because you kind of have to see, you kind of have to play. I feel like this is one of those cards where you have to play with it a lot to see how good it actually is. But like if you played against Zoo, unless you're like coining it out, like if this comes down, maybe turn 4, let's say, or whatever reason, like you can just like buff a flame imp, trading a flame imp and another minion, and then you're getting another minion back that's might even be just as good or better than the one you traded in. So it's like it's still only like a 1-for-1 for Zoo to break through this, but it does gain you 8 life, I suppose. So I don't think it's gonna kill Zoo. It's probably really good against Zoo. It might see play in Zoo, and I guess this could be one of those cards that if you're trying to, I don't know if this deck is going to be good. I just keep thinking about it. But if you're going to play like that Wailing Souls card and you want a bunch of things, like you can play this out, let it take a couple hits, and then slam down your Wailing Souls and now, trade it off or just like kind of bait your opponent into like, they want to kill this Death Lord, but if they can't kill it this turn, then you're like, Wailing Souls, like you should have traded with something else type deal. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool, and there's like some combo potential in there too, but it's definitely one of those cards where I'd have to play with a lot to truly know.
It's interesting because Death Lord has this big target on it that is so similar to all the other ones that have everyone assumes has taunt on it, right? Something like Starving Buzzard. Everyone kind of assumes that has taunt because you want to kill it. Or like Northshire Cleric. These kinds of things Frothing Berserker. They never wanted to live for very long. Death Lord has this very same case where people feel like they want to Black Knight something like that, even though there's much bigger threats throughout the rest of the game. That's what they go for, right? Because they hopefully get some value, but sometimes it doesn't work that way when like the Faceless Manipulator comes out on the board and it's a 3/3 and you lose that ability to combo. That's happened a couple times today. Gnimsh, do you have any follow-up to Alchemixt? I was just kind of talking off of his point, but do you have anything you want to add to that?
Oh man, I find it hilarious. Like, so Blizzard designs Lothar to kind of like this is obviously totally my thought, but and my line of thought. But they design Lothar to counter Miracle Rogue, and then Miracle Rogue is like, oh my god, Lothar, it's so good. So they take Lothar. So then they design Deathlord to counter Zoo, and Zoo is like, oh, this card is cool, I should play it. So like all the cards anti are actually auto included in the decks. So yeah, again, I agree with Alchemixt on this. Death Lord is a pretty cool card in Zoo as well because you want to protect your setup, you want to protect your minions, and Voidwalker was good, Shield Bearer was good, so well, Death Lord is great, right? Because it's really hard to kill all those small minions hiding behind Death Lord. The thing I want to add is that where Death Lord it's not that scary, and when you're playing versus like a zoo deck, for example, when they kill it, well, the best card they can get is like a Doomguard, but basically they will get a 2/3 or like 3/2 or maybe a 4/4. The problem is when you play Deathlord and you face the mid-range deck or like maybe even an endgame deck, and Deathlord dies and then an 8/8 is summoned, or like maybe people will start playing Deathwing, or like it depends on the metagame, but Deathlord can really summon a very nasty minion, and in those mid-range decks there are mostly like no small minions there, so this card might be like very good versus aggro decks, and really terrible versus like mid-range. Also versus Hunter, like the chat was saying that Hunter actually wrecks Deathlord. The thing is, like, you Hunter's Market, you kill it with the boar, and then you get a Savannah Lion. Hello, it's not a good card then, right? So
I think it's really dependent on the metagame because they take these fringe scenarios where it could bite you, but more often than not, you're gonna get these interesting. Like I can't even count how many times that like a naked defender of Argus has come out, and I'm really happy they didn't top deck it because their board was looking much stronger. I think it really depends on how people's decks are developing and what people are running, but I kind of lean towards what you guys are saying. But one thing I kind of want to just toss in my lot here before we go to Baron Rivendare. Which is actually I combo Deathlord with Baron Rivendare in a priest deck, and I play Inner Fire. Okay, now look, before you guys let me finish, before you guys start laughing at me, is that all of a sudden I play Deathlords, I play Belchers, and I play super defensive, and I have all these combo potentials because I take people because everyone's playing Rubian Egg, everyone's playing Harvest Golems, Haunted Creepers, and so when you just kind of have this ability, Deathlord even sometimes pulls those out, and then you steal it with Cabal Shadow Priest and Shadow Madness. And I'll talk about that actually a little bit right now because not only is it good with Deathlord because it draws those out and you're able to fend off against aggro, which is great for ladder, but Baron Rivendare also lets your minions trickle their death rattles twice. It's a 1/7 mana cost creature. And Baron Rivendare plus Shadow Madness is one of the most fun I've ever had playing Hearthstone because those things don't necessarily go together, but all of a sudden you're flooding the board against a lot of these aggro decks that you see all the time at the beginning of the season. So I've been having a lot of fun experimenting with him in Priest. A lot of people kind of traditionally go to Shaman, say him plus Reincarnation plus Ancestral Spirits equals full board of fire elementals, or sorry, earth elementals. I don't know if that's exactly the case and it's practical, but people are trying to go for the dream. What were you saying, Gnimsh?
or you can do the Leroy thing and like 6 Leroys one turn and just win. So
yeah, actually, that happened to me today. That was pretty crazy too. Reincarnation and Ancestral Spirit with Baron Rivendare.
So basically, we are discussing Baron now, right? Like the super cheese card. Are we
Baron,
going?
you consider this a cheese card, huh? Like nothing else is just in gimmick?
No, I mean, like, it's a solid card. The thing is, like, well, definitely for the first when you first look at it, it seems like, hey, I can do all those crazy combos, especially with like reincarnate and stuff, and doing like using it on the Frado cards like Sylvanas, Kern, or even like Leroy or Nerubian Egg, which is also pretty solid. But I think like even without those combo cards, Baron itself is a 1/7. It's not that easy to kill. And if you have a lot of the other cards, like even like a Harvest Golem, well, it will be good. Like, and you don't have to play it on turn 4. Like, you can play the Kern or on like turn 6, and then on turn 7 play Baron. And if you can trade, like, still Kern will trigger twice, so you can get all those cool interactions. The only problem is that it's a legendary card, so you can only have one in your deck, so it makes it less stable. But I feel like it's still worth it because if you have a deck working around all those synergies, and you should be able to use Baron. Like when you get Baron at some point, you will be able to get a lot of value out of it. I mean, I'm even thinking like Hunter, because in Hunter is kind of like more stable with the draws because of the tracking. So if you are able to use the Savannah Highmane and play Baron after that, then trade Savannah Highmane, get like 4 of of the hyenas. Like you can do all those crazy stuff and get value out of this card.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of potential in the Rivendare, but for now, people still haven't found it other than the obvious pick of putting in something like Shaman, where you get a lot of good value off of it. Alchemist, do you have any thoughts on Baron? Do you think it's a gimmick as well?
I don't know. I mean, you can definitely build an entire deck and make it gimmicky if you want to, but I don't think you need to. I think it's probably like a 4-mana 1/7 is probably good enough anyways, especially if you play cards like Defender of Argus. So I think it's like more one of those cards where it's like, well, why not play one if you happen to play Harvest Golems, Loot Hoarders, Eggs, or whatever other good Death Rattles there are. So I think it's kind of like one of those cards where like you just play it like it's a 4-mana 1/7 that has a good upside. So as long like if you can find a slot for it and it fits your deck, then I why not play it? Like it seems good enough to me. Like you don't have to make it like, oh, I'm gonna use this so I can get my 6 Leroys. Like it doesn't have to do that. It can just be a 4-mana 1/7 that gives you an extra 4/4 when your egg dies. Like that seems good enough to me. So you can make it gimmicky, but I think it's also probably just fine, like in normal situations, I guess.
Yeah, we even saw it yesterday in Deck Wars, where your teammate Dark Wanix used Baron Rivendare and Reincarnate for some cool Nerubian Wombo combos, and that was on the low end of things, right? When you have something like Cairn or Sylvanas
Right.
or whatever these other super Death Rattle minions, you get some really funky, crazy scenarios. And that actually gives us a perfect segue into Reincarnate, which is a card that provides a lot of lulls and highlight moments on YouTube. But is it as stable as people kind of make it out to be? Shaman really needs a lot of their spells to be super effective. That's what they kind of pride themselves on. Value targets with things like Earthshock, Hex, Lightning Bolts, Rock Biters. Does Reincarnate, is there a slot there somewhere for Shaman to kind of put it in? And if so, what are some of the uses for it? Gnimsh, you go first.
Well, definitely there is a slot for it. The thing is, like, you have the Nerubian Eggs, which are low mana cost cards. So if you draw into Nerubian Eggs, you're able to, like, Reincarnate basically works great with Death Rattle cards. So that you get a Death Rattle effect, which is beneficial to you, and then you get the minion back so that you can use the Death Rattle again. Also, it kind of like takes the silence away. It should work like that. I haven't tested it, but it should take like when they silence my Nerubian Egg, I should be able to reincarnate it and get back the Nerubian Egg, which is not silenced because it's like a new card.
Interesting. Unsilence it.
Unsilence. Yeah, this is like one of the few ways to unsilence the card. The other one would be just returning into hand, but here just for 2 mana, just unsilence the card, which is cool. Obviously, you have all those obvious synergies like Kern, Sylvanas, whatever. With the Ancestral Spirit, you have a double Death Rattle effect, which is kind of cheesy, but that's still it seems fine if you can create a couple of minions out of it just out of nowhere. Like I feel like people are using it with Earth Elemental, which basically is not that good in the metagame because it's easy to remove. But the thing is, like when you get 4 Earth Elementals, then it's sick because it's really hard to remove it without like mass. Well, I think there's only like Deathwing and the Nether. I always forgot the name of the card.
Twisting Nether.
Twisting Nether.
Or like something weird like Vanish or Shadow Flame on like a huge target.
Like Pyromancer quality. So there is not that much of the full board wipe. So if you're able to like set your board with triple Earth Elemental even, it's still pretty good. And it also works with Baron Rivendare. So basically, I feel like even if your Shaman deck is not built around Reincarnate, having only one is still a good card because you can still use it. It's destroy a minion, so you can even destroy a minion on your opponent's side. So if they like buff it, you can like kind of silence it. We discussed it before, but if they buff their minion with the taunt and you want to bypass the taunt, you can kill their minion and then kind of like silence it. It's so cool because you can like silence the minion, unsilence the minion. You can do so much stuff, right?
Yeah, it's very versatile. It's it allows you to basically answer big threats like the Van Cleef, right? On their side, say you run out of hexes and you don't have an Earthshock, but you have a Reincarnate that you've been saving because maybe you wanted to use it on, I don't know, your own minions of some sort. And then all of a sudden you realize there's like a 12/12 Van Cleef and that's your only response. It pushes it back out to a 2/2, which is pretty cool and takes off that damage. So there's a lot of uses for reincarnate. Maybe we could use it on Twitch so that it can go back to how it was before, but that's wishful thinking. Alchemix, do you have any kind of comments on reincarnate?
I think Gnimsh pretty much said everything, but I think one thing that I do like about it is it kind of gives Shaman, like if you want to, you can build a lot different of a Shaman deck than what we're used to seeing, because Shaman's pretty much been pretty much exactly the same since the first, good list of Shaman that we've seen. So I like that now there's kind of like you can play the standard Shaman, or maybe you can add in, like the Cairns and Sylvanas and play this. Because you think about it, like Rogue, you could play Miracle, Tempo, Backspace Rogue. You could play like Warlock has Handlock and Zoo. So a lot of different classes have these like a bunch of different decks, but Shaman's kind of always been exactly the same. And now I think you add a whole new deck if you want to, and I like that.
Well, now it's like 4 versions, I think, because there's the combo shaman with Baron and Reincarnate. There will be the Zeus shaman, like the Strife Crew version with a lot of spell damage, spell power. Wind Fury Bloodlust shaman, standard shaman. So a lot, right?
Yeah.
What to expect?
Oh. Well, I guess it does give Shaman more life rather than just the traditional mid range that we see. So it's kind of cool to see people kind of gearing away from the traditional version of Shaman, like we've been talking about. But also, there's one other card, the Void Caller for Warlock, which might break some of the traditional archetypes as well. When people are saying it's synergies with demons, Void Caller is a 4 mana cost card, 3/4 and it puts a random demon from the hand to the battlefield. It's a death rattle effect. Now, a lot of people kind of said that this feels like it would fit more in towards like the mid. If you had like a mid-range warlock deck where you have things like Pit Lord and Succubus, Felguard, I don't know. You just throw in whatever demon that normally has a bad effect, and then all of a sudden it puts it out. It even puts out Jaraxxus. The Solo Adventures makes a point to show you that. It can even put out a 3/15 minion for 4 mana effectively. I don't know if I can see any immediate uses of Void Caller because there's not many pure demon decks from the Warlock, at least anything that I've seen currently. But I have seen a few people attempt it on ladder, not to much success because, well, let's be real, it's just inferior to Zoo in almost every regard. Do you guys have any opinions on Void Caller at all?
Yeah, I love it as a card. It's another combo slash cheesy card that tries to create a new archetype. First, it's using the old Voidwalker art from beta. So the Voidwalker was changed in the beta. It was using this art, and now it's a Voidcaller art, which is kind of cool. The thing is, like, I've seen a screenshot from Strife Crew today. He was rank 3. I'm not sure which server, and his board was like insane with Jaraxxus, Infernal, Void Terror, Void Color. He was just owning his opponent, so it was pretty cool. I feel like this card, when you know how to play, and you know how to build a deck, and when you know how to play this kind of a deck, which is more like combo based to get all those minions on board and capitalize on that Devral ability here, you can build a really cool deck. Also, it has a lot of surprise factor, kind of like a bit of randomness. But if you have a good curve with demons, and if you like cut all the small ones and use only the good ones, that you ensure that when Void Caller dies, you get an Infernal or you get a Doomguard or Jaraxxus, then the deck might actually be cool.
Huh, that is interesting. That's funny that Shrivecrow is the one testing it. It kind of makes sense. He's the guy who's unafraid to put those things to the test.
Like
Alchemist, do you have any
Trolldex.
follow up points with that? Yeah, exactly. Do you have any follow up comments to that? Is what Gnimsh saying crazy, or do you feel like maybe there is something there with Void Caller that we haven't seen yet?
I definitely think there's potential. I mean, the card is it seems fine. I think the biggest factor in determining whether or not you can make a deck based off this guy is how good is your deck when you don't draw a Void Caller? How good is your deck when you play a Void Caller and it gets they silence it with Keeper of the Grove? Because if you want to make your Void Caller super good, then you want to play all these really huge demons like Infernos and all these expensive guys, or if you want to play like you said the Succubuses and stuff, like those cards are okay, I guess, on their own, but they're not the best. So I think if your deck can perform reasonably well when you don't get your Void Caller on time, or if it just is a straight up 4 mana 3/4 that once it gets silenced, then it might be good enough. Because I think if the deck is good when your Walker when your Void Caller doesn't work, and then if it's great when it does work, then that's probably a good deck. But it's definitely going to take someone pretty creative and probably lots of work to find the exact deck that works if there is one.
Gotcha, gotcha. I kind of identify with that as well, and that's a really cool deck building tip that you even mentioned there. You know, how not only is the synergy, what synergy is there, but can it stand alone if the synergy is not there? Because a lot of people do run silences more often, or they're more prone to hold their silences because they know the variety of what's coming out, especially with Next Ramus. My final question about all of these cards, before I kind of turn to you guys for last points and comments, is who is the big gains, the big winners here in terms of the meta game? Are there any classes moving up, moving down? Warlock and Shaman got their cards. Are they moving up, or do they kind of stay about the same? Or does any other class kind of gain a lot from some of these things as a whole? Is there any kind of shakeup to the metagame whatsoever? Gnimsh, do you have any things to start us off with?
Well, definitely Shaman will be a big class right now with the wombo combos coming into the fray. I feel like Spectral Knight is a pretty good addition to the Druid. Druid being the class which mostly uses the solid cards every turn, like and also depends on the raw power of a solo cards. So like Spectral Knight feels like a ideal addition here. But other than that, I would just have to play more like test stuff. And it's really hard to predict how where the metagame will go, because where people test all the new cards and some of the new archetypes appear, then some of the old archetypes actually like can be resurfaced and are good versus those new archetypes. So I feel like the metagame will actually have a cycle again, and I'm looking forward what people can come up with.
Okay, Alchemixt, do you have any opinions on how's the metagame shifted whatsoever in terms of which classes or archetypes have gone on top, or do you feel like it's stabilized again, anyways?
I don't think there's going to be any huge changes in the metagame this week. I mean, Shaman probably gets a little better, and I think if there's any one card out of this set that would affect the way people build their decks and play, it'd be Spectral Knight. Because if Spectral Knight does uh, find its way into a bunch of different decks, or if there's a deck that becomes really popular with Spectral Knight, then every time you're building a deck, you're going to think, okay, like what do I do if my opponent plays Spectral Knight on turn 5? Maybe I need to add some more minions that can trade into it. Maybe I need to figure out a way to deal with it, or is there a way that I can ignore it somehow? So if one card out of here is going to change the way people play or build their decks, it'd probably be Spectral Knight.
Completely agree. Any final comments overall on the next military wing quarter before we move on to the general news in Hearthstone?
I'm good. I just love
All
the
right.
wing, love the new cards, and I'm really waiting forward to the next wing.
Yeah, I kind of like how like the Void Caller and the Death Lord and a lot of these cards that are coming out kind of have a like the web spinner effect where you never really know what's going to happen. It's going to create like all these like you'll see like a Reddit post that has like some insane Void Caller play. You're going to see one that has like this really random Death Lord stuff. And like the web
True.
spinner guy is sweet. Like that guy, he's probably one of my favorite cards just because I know he's not from this
Hell
format.
yeah.
I won't keep talking about him, but I just love how you can play that guy and just like anything can happen. Like you get that Silverback Patriarch and like you're just like awesome, great. You get the King Crush and you're like, whatever, this is great. So
Absolutely. Don't doubt it. Gnimsh even was there. We were playing in Taiwan and laddering in the beginning of the season, and Silverback Patriarch stopped the Druid combo and kept me alive at 13, 14 health. So people
Yeah,
mock it, but sometimes he gets his revenge and he's able to prove his worth. I
you
love
can.
Web Spinner. I love Deathlord and Void Caller for those reasons, but yeah, we have yet to see that in competitive play.
I talked about it with Ben Brode yesterday. Like randomness of this kind is really important to the game, and it brings a lot of fun. And just getting that. Well, you can use those cards that people normally don't play, right? Like this, the Patriarch, or like Maexna, or
Yeah,
like
even like
Bloodfin
Captain
Raptor.
Sparrow. Yeah.
exactly. Like who in their right mind would normally put those in their regular decks, assuming, at least in the current state of
Oh,
Hearthstone, hungry crabs and young dragonhawks. But maybe you just use it to cycle through, and then it pushes you closer to things like your Savannah Hymains.
I have a question to Alchemist. because we were when you were playing WEC versus Tides of Time. At one moment, the web spinner died, and Tides of Time got Captain's Parrot, and then you conceded the game. Were you aware that the Captain's Parrot is actually coming to destroy you?
No, no, I was not aware of the captain's parrot.
Okay, this is kind of hilarious. Like he got the Captain's Parrot, and then you insta conceded.
Yeah,
So
I rewatched a lot of those VODs, and I guess I'll make a formal apology to Frodan because every time I would play, you're like, there's like three or four games where you'd be like, just BM him, kill him with a Doom hand, like, kill that web spinner, so I know what card he would have gotten if he played it a few turns earlier, and I just like try to finish it quickly, or I just concede or whatever, and I just always leave you hanging there.
I know. Every time. It's okay, man. You're still new. It was one of your first coming out parties for high level, high exposure tournaments. You have much to learn, young Padawan. But now
Yeah.
that you know, I expect great things next time. 10 out of 10s from this point on. All right, cool. So that we wrapped up the military wing release. Definitely, if you have more questions towards the end of the show, we have a Q&A session. So feel free to toss some questions our way if you feel like there's more to follow up on the military wing. But we're going to move on to other news in Hearthstone. The primary reason why we have Alchemixt here today is for his qualification to China in the beginning of September for the $62,000 tournament called the World Esports Championship. He's going to be joining Tides of Time, RDU, and Dark Wannix as the Western representatives. WC also had qualifiers in regions like Korea, where Masan played, and he just fell short for qualifying. I think he was fourth place, which is unfortunate for one of our favorite TSM streamers. And there's also going to be local Chinese players also going to the tournament. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is the tournament experience from the player perspective, because a lot of people don't really get to see how the player approaches the tournament, their preparations, how is it going on your side of things? Was it stressful playing, those kind of things? A lot of times it's their first time experiencing that kind of pressure, right? Firebat was saying that he never felt like that kind of pressure before, and he kind of made some weird, funky decisions. So, Alchemist, I kind of want you to share a little bit about how WC went from your perspective.
Well, as far as just the tournament overall, like the way it was run was way better than I expected. Like everything, for the most part, seemed to roll pretty smoothly. I rewatched a lot of the VODs too, so it seemed like the tournament itself ran smoothly from like our perspective, the players. I was never really confused or like held back at any point, so that was good. As far as like pressure and stuff, hell yeah, man. I was like, I don't know if it looked that way or not, but I was really nervous. And even though I won both my matches on the first day, you might think like, oh, well, you get to relax the second day. Like I was still really nervous all day. Like I was watching everyone, trying to write down the cards that they were playing, so I would have like as close to their list as I could. And then I'm just thinking like, who am I gonna have to play the next day? Like, what do I want to do? And um, it's definitely like kind of nerve wracking there. But it is exciting too, and it's fun. And yeah, I mean, overall, I had a really good time and I had a good result, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, I bet you are. You get $2,000 just for showing up to China, but that was for going through a field of killers, top 8 players. Talking a little bit about your tournament experience of playing it, you had to face up against Reels in the very beginning, and then Tides in the winners bracket. Then you had Firebat, and then you faced Tides once again in the finals. Do you feel like these guys are representative of the best North America? Because everyone kind of has high expectations for Tides and Reels. I mean, I just kind of want to pick your brain about how you went into these top NA players, because a lot of times people see these streamers and they kind of get into their mindset. But you stream on Azubu, so no one really knows how your style is, and they don't really know like your insight into the game. How did you kind of prepare for your matches against these players?
Okay, well, I don't really have like a specific plan that I prepare. Like, oh, I'm going to do this day and figure out this on another day. But um, basically, I just tried to decide what decks that I feel the most comfortable playing, and then I decided what decks I thought were best for the tournament. And then I kind of weighed like, well, I don't feel too comfortable with this deck, but is it like too good that I should play anyways, even if I play it not at the highest level. So I think I was trying to find a good balance of decks that I felt comfortable with and decks that I thought were actually really good for the tournament. And it was kind of a long process thinking of the banning strategy, which is actually kind of fun. But you're just thinking like, okay, so if I have like I had like a list of each of the classes, and then I would have my four decks that I just would pick four decks that I wouldn't mind playing. And be like, okay, so if I ban Rogue, then am I weak to this? Am I weak to this? Am I weak to this? And I would have to do that, assuming that they would ban. I'd have to go through each iteration of if they were to ban one of my other decks, am I weak to all these? So it was like a really long process figuring out what to ban. Am I okay if they ban this? What if they have this class? And um, I was basically just running through a bunch of scenarios, and I guess I'll give a kind of like a shout out to Dart. He's I don't know if you guys know him, but he casts NESL King of the Hill sometimes, and I think he was top 16 legend this season also. But he helped me out a lot, just like running. It was more so like just bouncing ideas off him. Like I would give him a lineup and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he goes, "Well, if I ban this, then I'll just 3-0 you with Ramp Druid. So I don't know if that's a good idea." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Now I need to, redo my whole strategy." And I don't really know what else to say other than that. Is just going through a lot of deck lineups, bouncing ideas off each other, and practicing.
One very
Sure,
important
sure.
question then. Did you enjoy it? Because still like the tournament formats for Hearthstone are still developing. Like we are searching for the best format possible. And for example, Reynard in the beginning was a really anti-veto. Like he didn't know what to think about it. He was against it. But then after the tournament, he commented that he actually like changed his mind and he really enjoyed the format, the process and stuff. And what you just said is like a very in-depth analysis actually of the format, and you have to go through all those stages to prepare. So did you enjoy it, or do you prefer like no veto?
I like the ban system or the veto system just because think about it, like how often, like if you knew that you had to play against Miracle Rogue every single and this is an example, you could do this with any class. Maybe you don't want to play against Zoo or something, but let's say like if you knew that you had to play against Miracle Rogue, then I don't think you'd bring a lineup. Maybe there might be versions of these decks now that beat it, but like Paladin traditionally didn't do well versus Miracle Rogue. Like Priest doesn't really do that great a lot of the times. And there's a lot of other decks, but like allowing a ban makes it so that you get to see decks that you wouldn't normally see. It creates like you get to play the meta game that you want to play with, and I think that's great for viewers because even though it's at first it seems like, oh well, you're taking away a deck so they won't see it, but it's allowing people to take away a deck is gonna allow more decks to be played, I think. So I think by banning decks you add a lot of variety, and I like that.
I
Great.
completely agree. It's the same concept as if you just take a simple tier list in a fighting game. A lot of times these top tier characters consist of a small pool of them, right? Say, okay, I'm not that well versed in something like Super Smash Brothers, but as far as I remember, it's like the space animals and like Marth and all these other. But if that tier of characters disappeared, all of a sudden the best quote unquote characters slide up, and that pool is a little bit more variety. There's all kinds of archetypes that are much higher. So then or much better in that scenario. So it opens up to the playing field and you see diversity. That's why I think Paladin is now much more comfortable pick for a lot of these tournament players. It's really cool to see, and I kind of throw in my lot there and say that I really like this VO system as well. So that
Yeah.
answers your question, Gnimsh.
I also
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
sorry, I just want to add one more thing. I also think that let's be real, Hearthstone, anything can happen. Like you can prepare more than anyone else in the tournament. You could have the best decks, you could be the best player, but um, you could still lose. It's just the nature of card games. But I think by adding this banning series, it rewards people who spend more time preparing. It rewards good deck choices, good deck building. If I'm going to ban Miracle Rogue every single game, like, do I need to put Lothab in all of my decks? Probably not. That's just like a small example, but um,
Sure.
it takes some of the randomness and um, that people complain about for pro players or tournament games, and it kind of eliminates some of that. It adds another element of skill, in my opinion, and I think that's good for the competitive scene also.
To summarize on my side, I totally agree. Like I really enjoyed the ban formats when I was introduced to it in France in Marseille, and I'm really a promoter of this format as well. Like I'm telling all the organizers to use it, and well, as we can see, it actually works, and a lot of players enjoy it, and it adds more to the skill, and it creates more interesting environments. So I love it.
Yep, it rewards players for also preparing for matches and researching their opponents and understanding the metagame a little bit more. One of my favorite things to do when I'm around RDU is ask him how he prepared for a series because the kid will just go on for like 15 minutes about how he thinks if this player does this, then he has this, and it's a complete like rock paper scissors, but he has the bazooka to defeat whatever comes out. And another player that was doing that was Firebat, and Firebat was the guy that I kind of talked to before the tournament. He was like, well, I was kind of just preparing the spreadsheet, and I predicted. He was talking about Prismatic Cup as well as preparing for WC, and he said he predicted like 7 out of 8 opponents playing exactly what he wanted, and he was able to choose the pick order, and as a result, he got the matchups he wanted because he took the time to like write everything out, color code it, make a legend key and everything. The guy was super prepared. Kind of unfortunate that Firebat did nothing but lose pretty much on the last day. Even with some weird plays like mulliganing away his innervate. I know the guy is taking it really hard, but hopefully Firebat comes back strong. Alchemixt, you got a chance to play against Firebat, and he kind of said he got nervous. Did you sense any of that? Because that was kind of a historic choke there, in my opinion, because his play
Yeah.
from day 1 to day 3 was completely different, night and day.
Well, me and Firebat are actually pretty good friends. We talk a lot. And I don't know if this is known, but we were actually both on Team DKMR at the same time before we both left and did our
Okay,
separate
that's cool.
things. So I don't know if people knew that or not, but yeah, I think Firebat was like one of the best players in that event, and he's probably the least well known player, or one of them, anyways. So yeah, I don't know. I think he just choked, maybe got tilted because yeah, he made a lot of questionable decisions on the last day with the mulligan, as you said. There were some other like smaller ones, and I don't know why he banned my warrior, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he just was scared to play against it because it was unknown, but I was looking at his decks, and all 3 of his decks I felt like matched up well against warriors. So I think he made,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think he just got a little too nervous because I just went on a 3-0 with warrior in the previous round against Tide, so maybe that was sitting in the back of his head and he was getting nervous or whatnot. But he's definitely like one of the best players out there, I think. And yeah, he must have just gotten nervous, and I can't blame him. Like I was pretty nervous too.
It was very interesting because yeah, just like you said, shaman, druid, and even the hunter can match up pretty well with the warrior. So very baffling from the very beginning. But I think it was just like you said, maybe him getting inside his own head and trying to play a little bit too creative. Gnimsh kind of said this a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't sure how much validity to it because he was telling me in a very candid situation where I thought he might be joking. But it seems to be more true when I see some players get nervous where they try to think a little too creatively because they're trying so hard not to make a mistake, and then they end up being the biggest enemy. And they have to kind of make the more obvious plays, but in the
What?
end, their creativity
Sorry.
backstabs them.
Sorry. I was gonna say I think one of the lines of thought that he might have had, although I'm not sure how valid it is my warlock was still unknown going into there. Most people assume I play Zoo, but on the DKMR Challenge show match that they invited me to the previous week or 2 weeks ago, I actually did play Handlock. So he probably didn't know if I was playing Handlock or Zoo. And most recently in a tournament, I did play Handlock. And if I was playing Handlock, then Shaman's pretty good against Handlock, Hunter's pretty good against Handlock, and then he just doesn't run Druid into it. So he might have just been taking like a risk, thinking like, well, I'm still able, I can afford one loss still as far as matches go. So if this is Handlock, then I probably just win the match, and then but unfortunately for him, I was Zoo. So I was thinking maybe that was a thought running through his mind.
You bring a very interesting point right now because a lot of players are stuck with the certain classes and certain setups that they play, and it's really important because as you mentioned, like Fireball was doing spreadsheets, and Tyson L I think is doing the same. RDU is doing the same. They just collect, they like watch everything, they collect information about players, and then when they play against those players, they have they make educated guesses on what the player may play, and they counter those players with specific decks. So it's really important to mix what you play. Like, so one tournament you play Handlock, one tournament you play Zoo, other tournament you play something else, so that every tournament you actually like enter, you can have those decks that are good for the tournament, but also you can play those mind games on players. Like maybe even like if Handlock is worse, you can still play Handlock because it will be better because you have the Cerberus effect and you can actually like win against those players who prepared versus you playing Zoo because you were running Zoo for like a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, you know, Dark Wanix even said he's another guy who qualified for Europe for on Team Curse. He even said that he didn't really play Hunter ever before he brought it to WEC, and all of a sudden that was a deck that he relied on in pretty tight situations, and was able to pull out important wins to secure the spot. And it's funny because he's known to be, that really late game control oriented player. And then all of a sudden, on the other side of it, in the deck match for Savage, he plays a pretty aggressive Druid deck, right? The token Druid is known to be very fast and try to take advantage of your opponent. And he even killed Savitz on turn 4. So these players are mixing it up and trying to mind game their opponent. It didn't work out for Dark Wongs as he did end up dropping the series just barely 3-4. But still, I love that the fact that these pros players are thinking beyond just what's good in Hearthstone at the moment. Very clever.
One quick question to Alchemixt. Are you aware that you have a Polish flag in the background?
Oh my God, you're totally right.
I'm at my parents' house for the summer right now. So this isn't my normal room, but great.
Okay.
He's gonna change his username to Alchemixt PL.
That would be hilarious.
Sure, you can join Tyson Strifegrow, right, as the country representatives. Proud. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the other tournaments as well. Unless you guys want to say one more thing about WEC.
Well, I want to say that amazing casting, Frodan. So thank you for casting that. For the viewers, for viewers who don't actually know, Frodan was when we were at Taiwan for the last couple of days, and Frodan was actually like waking up at like 2:30 in the night, then like trying to get himself together, and then casting from 3 a.m. to like 7, 8, 10 a.m. in the morning, then having like 1 hour of sleep, and then we were going to venture into Taiwan, and it was like for 3 days straight. Like he was waking up 2:30 in the night and casting. So, apart from that, like I heard, and actually I was watching the games as well. The quality was pretty good. So yeah, the good job there, man. Good job.
Thank you. It made it a lot easier casting with Admirable because he was able to carry a lot of conversation. But that's something that I even told you, Gnimsh. I said, please don't ever let me do something like this again, because that was insane amount of drain. I think we lucked out too because it wasn't like a true weekend event, like something like IEM or DreamHack, where those days are just super intense with like 10 hours. If that was the case, I think I would have actually died. But Taiwan people treated us really nice. The 4Gamers guys were super cool. And our, our tourist guide, Enzo and Elvis, were super kind to us, giving us everything we need. So I enjoyed that weekend a lot. But thank you so much. That does mean a lot. So we're done making myself feel really good, and we can talk about some of these other tournaments that have been going on too. I think you guys even participated in it. It's the Prismatic Cup. You guys were playing in the Swiss rounds, correct?
Yes.
I was invited to the Prismatic Cup, but I didn't play in it because it was my mom's 50th birthday, and we were throwing her a big party, so I missed this one, but it was definitely a tournament that I would have liked to play in.
Oh, your mom.
Well, I thought I saw your name there, but I mean, at the same time, there were so many good players that I kind of just assumed you were in there, and so many good people fell in like the last couple rounds, where it was like, well, if this guy qualified, that's actually a really good tournament. Okay, sorry, let's back up. For anyone who doesn't know the Prismatic Cup, it's the first time event trying to promote Prismata, and what happened was they had 2 separate rounds. One was kind of like offline in a sense, where they didn't really broadcast it. It was a round of 32 Swiss, where the players would just continue to go through and play just Swiss style, where they match up randomly depending on how their opponents do. And then they take the top 6 and then do the broadcast of the tournament. And then it was broadcast on Hafu's channel, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But before we do that, I think the most important point that's brought about the Prismatic Cup is the fact that Swiss and the format is also being tweaked once again, not just with the bans and the picks and the double eliminations or the single eliminations, but the Swiss rounds. And Gnimsh, you got a chance to play in that. Do you like the Swiss format? Is it kind of sustainable? Should tournaments be adopting this if possible for the upcoming events?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, I love the cup. What I hate about it, I feel like I didn't prepare enough for the tournament because it was I was mostly preparing for WEC, and then we had this Prismata Cup, and I got invited like last minute, so I felt like, yeah, okay, I will play Prismata Cup, but I will just play for fun, like to relax, to test some decks. And I had a lot of fun. Like the format, the Swiss was great. I also like the spreadsheet, that we had a spreadsheet and we could see all the scores being updated real time, and it was really easy to follow. Also, like I wasn't confused at any moment at the tournament, because it was you could always contact the organizer, and we're actually like getting the scores after each game instead of a match. So it was pretty well run. The Swiss part, I think we actually talked about it last week about but still, it's a very cool tournament with the band format and with like everything best of fives. So I played a lot of games, even though I lost. I played, I think, 4 matches total. So it was still fun to play, and yeah, I really enjoyed like the Swiss part and everything. So I really hope. I think they will be actually trying to do it each month. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. Also, a very important fact is like they invited some of the unknown players. So it wasn't like invite on. Well, it was kind of like invite only, but yeah.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. Please continue.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So so like if you're a high legend player on an A, you could just I guess send a resume, and then they were inviting you. So that was a pretty good thing. And with the finals, I also like, I haven't seen all the games, but the thing is like the finals were still good, and all those players that got to the top 6 were pretty strong. So yeah, I guess we just need more tournaments like that. It was pretty good.
Completely agree. You brought up the point of more unknown players like Freshka getting to the top 6, which was cool. Even Brad getting another chance to show that as much as he got invited to WC and people might be raising an eyebrow, now they kind of see the validity to that, because he did get to the finals. And he did lose to Guard, unfortunately, but the series was so epic. I hope you guys got to watch some of those games. It really was some of the most exciting Hearthstone I've ever been able to have the pleasure of watching.
Freshka, but
what's
Freshka,
up?
by the way, sorry to interrupt, but Freshka, by the way, just destroyed this tournament on the Swiss part before the top 6. It's like, I think I was playing like round 2 or something, and Freshka was already qualified for top 6. Like he
Wow.
didn't drop the game. Like it was so fast for him. It was just winning all those games versus all those people, and yeah, he was the first to qualify for top 6, and with a perfect score, I guess. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, shout out to Freshka. His team's Ferris, which I don't know anything about other than the fact that Freshka is on it. So maybe it's more exposure for him. He does stream, so you can check out his stuff, and he's a really fun-loving guy. And I think people will probably pay attention more now that they see his name out there. He did lose in the semifinals, unfortunately, but I think Brad has shown that he is a good NA player. Although everyone feels like maybe they're better than him based off of a few plays that he made, but I think that's really unfair. I think Brad showed that he's got the skills to kind of back up some of these invites that he's been getting.
Yeah. While we're just on the topic of him, real quick, a lot. I also saw that a lot of people were questioning his invite to the WEC, and I mean, people might think I have bias because he is my former teammate, but the DKMR Invitational is like a weekly King of the Hill that they do each week, and he was undefeated for a really long. Humble brags here. I actually ended his streak when I was invited for number 6, but he beat Wampy, Chalky, Raynad, Z Rusher, Ignite, like, and he didn't just beat them. He like 4-0'd with his Druid many times. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that. I mean, you can make arguments for other people to be invited, but I was not that surprised when I saw that he was there. Like he might not be as known, but he is definitely proven to be one of the better players.
Yeah, he's been slaying it. I think his overall record was something like 15 or 16-3. It was like he barely dropped any games. This was something I was fed moments before we went to the WC broadcast, and I was very impressed to hear that. And even though it was kind of one of his first exposure on this kind of level, I think Brad will continue to showcase his skill. It's good. It's good because these North American players, if we can just be real for a second, a lot of them has relied more on their popularity than on their practice or preparation. And now that these guys are kind of rising up, guys like Alchemixt, guys like Brad, some of these players have to kind of watch their backs. They're always looking out for the obvious big names, Tides of Time, Strive Crow, etc. But now they have to watch out for these guys who are quickly rising the ranks. Freshka, Hyped, Firebat, Alchemixt, even Chalky recently. I see him ranked really high, and I guess he's starting to make waves of impacts on some of those local tournaments as well. So keep an eye out for some of this talent, and it's good. So that way there's pressure from the bottom, so the top guys have to keep going. Keep going. One thing that was actually, before we go to another topic, one thing that was actually addressed by the community was the topic of the commentary between Hafu and Trump. And this is something that kind of strikes a little bit home for some of us just because, well, I'm primarily a commentator on top of my managerial duties. And Gnimsh is also a pro player / commentator. And the title of one of the threads that kind of amassed thousands of votes and a bunch of people to start arguing and throwing a bunch of fits was being a pro player doesn't necessarily mean you're a good commentator. Gnimsh, why don't you break down this scenario of what happened? Because I think we were the ones watching the broadcast and kind of agreeing with a little bit of what was going on. Like, well, maybe there's a lot more excitement that could be injected because we don't really feel it with some of these epic games. Talk a little bit about what's going on here and what the fuss is about.
I think we actually missed a couple of games, but still, the thing is like the tournament was hosted and casted by Hafu and Trump, and both Hafu and Trump, they have a bit of a similar style. They're like very calm about the stuff, and there wasn't like a specific host or like a hype caster who will be able to like hype the games and give the attention there. So they were mostly like talking about stuff. Also, like the community reacted well in a weird way because the thing was hosted on Hafu's channel, so the Hafu's bot was actually like banning people, and like there were a couple of mods.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So definitely like the community got pissed somehow, and I'm not sure if this is really like a good way to express your feedback because right now there are not that many commentators in Hearthstone. Like a lot of people are still learning, and it's not easy to cast. That's for sure. Like I know that Hafu and Trump didn't prepare that much because they actually agreed with the feedback that they didn't know that much about the players, so they were mostly commenting on the plays. But I'm not sure that the job they did was that terrible. Like it's good to give feedback to people because then they can improve and give you a better performance. But on the other hand, just hating people because they do their job and they try to cast and they try to bring something to the community, I don't think it's that of a good way. And some of the comments in the thread and the Reddit were really like painful for those people, and they didn't even bring constructive criticism, but they were just really hurting them. On the other hand, there was a lot of good constructive criticism and a lot of valid points that can help improve both Hafu and Trump after that. But yeah, definitely a touchy topic because it's hard to find good commentators. You can see Frodan casting everything, but maybe at some point Frodan won't have time to cast everything, and then we'll still have to. Well, you're a machine man, right? But still, like
yes, you're absolutely right. It's been kind of excessive. But.
And yeah, there will be like more and more Hearthstone tournaments, and some of them will be overlapping, I'm sure. So at that point, we'll have to have more casters, more commentators, and those people just won't come out of the blue. They have to will go through a certain way. They have to learn how to cast, and there's where the community comes into a way, and just giving feedback, helping them grow. So definitely, I kind of like agree that just being a pro player doesn't mean that you're a good caster. But on the other hand, being a pro player and having that knowledge can help you transition into being a caster. And you definitely have to train and improve being a caster, but having this knowledge about the game is really helpful because Hearthstone is basically mostly about the hidden information and presenting the hidden information that's not visible and not just commanding play by play. And when the casters from other games actually join in, they have a really good presentation skill, but on the other hand, they don't have in-depth knowledge about the game, so they miss some easy plays, or they don't understand how the exact matchup works. So personally, I would probably enjoy more like an in-depth commentary, which is maybe even not that interesting, rather than just listening to a hyped commentary that's not on point and just not telling me anything about the game.
Wow, that was a lot of good tidbits.
Sorry.
And I think I think you hit it the nail on the head. I think when you if Trump listens to this, which I'm not exactly sure if they do, but if they kind of take the time of the day, I would first kind of say that you can't really take when you go to Reddit and you go to like your Twitter and you're kind of seeing this feedback, you take the good with the bad. You don't really just listen to one. Don't listen to just the haters, but don't listen to also the people who just say you're amazing, it was good, I loved it. You kind of just take the general reception as a whole and be able to find out what you like about it. Like what does a player want to hear, right? What does a viewer want to hear? And just kind of expound about it. For example, if I kind of turn to Alchemixt right now and I say, Dan, what do you enjoy about commentary at all for Hearthstone? Do you feel the commentary is even necessary? Some people just watch VODs with music on and they don't even care about commentary, but it seems like a lot of the Western audience does care about what's being said as the game is being broadcasted. So I kind of want to ask you, Alchemix, what do you think constitutes a good commentator?
Well, I think I mean, everyone has different preferences. Personally, I like it when you have kind of like the one person who's like the knowledgeable one, and then the other person who's maybe a little more upbeat or cracking jokes or something. But I tend to like the high energy or kind of foolish type commentary when people are like just having fun. Because I mean, this might be because I play like a lot of Hearthstone and I play competitively, so I like the in-depth commentary, but it's not necessary for me. I have a good idea what's going on, what's going through the players' heads, but I don't know. I just think commentary overall is it's really hard. Like I was asked to like last minute once to sub in for an NESL Koth, and I just straight up declined because I'm like I don't want to be crucified by Twitch chat. I've never done this before. But sorry, but maybe it's some other date if I had some practice. Because if you try to just before, for anyone out there that's like posting these hateful comments, like before you do that next time, go rewatch a VOD of Hearthstone, a video of Hearthstone, any game, and try and commentate it right then. Because I've tried that and it's hard. Like, what do you say? You're like, well, he's playing this card on turn 2, and yeah, what else do I say? It's hard to come up with stuff and have a constant flow of stuff to say. So I just feel like before you hate on someone for doing it, try to see if you can do it yourself, because it's not easy.
That's really interesting that a pro player like yourself is saying that even in-depth analysis isn't the most important. One thing that's people kind of always miss is the people who are commenting and trying to voice their opinions, they're the ones who are actually usually the best at the game. They're the ones that kind of say, like, we want to hear more. What does this imply? What is he playing around? What is he thinking 3, 4 turns in advance? When there's a large percentage of people who watch the games and have no clue what's going on, they said, oh, look, that big 6/5 creature did 3 damage. What is going on? Like, they don't really understand. They're just learning Hearthstone. And they forget that there's millions and millions of people who actually have registered accounts and are nowhere near the level of play some of these guys are. So they don't understand a lot of concepts. So I think you're absolutely right. It's very unfair to kind of criticize things like knowledge. Now, if you're talking about things like the microphone quality, if you're kind of criticizing like laughing too much on broadcast, those are all things that basically feed into your opinion. I don't know where I actually sit on like what's actually good versus bad. I think it's always based on style. Like, what kind of broadcast do you want to do? When I do commentary, I always think about what's the story that I want to paint. How do I want to present a game? What am I excited about Hearthstone? And I try to deliver the same exact feeling that I get when I actually jump out of my chair sometimes when I'm watching these games. Like Gnimsh knows, right? When we watched Amaz Top Deck Das Sylvanas, I was going nuts. I was like leaning on Gnimsh's shoulder because I was like, I can't even believe what I just saw. Like, I was just going crazy. Everyone was going crazy. Like, people jumping up and screaming out of their minds. Carmack was going ballistic. So,
Yeah.
these kinds of things, you want to encapsulate those moments. That's my priority. Someone like
Also,
Trump, he cares about being more educational. What's up, Gnimsh? Go ahead and talk about. I've been talking too
yeah,
long.
I mean, like, I want to just throw it in for all the people watching it. If you want to improve on casting, and when you're watching a caster, and there is something that really annoys you, there's a lot of things that caster can actually improve upon. Like, if the caster is, and there's a lot of traps that caster actually, a new caster falls into. It's like, repetitions. A lot of casters they have repetitions for the first time. Like you mentioned, laughing, right? Laughing is or giggling is the natural thing when you're nervous, and this also can be eliminated. Like after practicing, and first you do it, and then people notice it. They say, "Hey, I hate it. Don't do it." Then you can try to improve upon it. Like, there are certain words that people like overuse, like a huge draw. Some people love it, some people hate it. Like you can modify it. It depends on what the community says. So just that's why I said like constructive criticism is so important for the caster, because he can actually like use it, then he can practice it, and then he can eliminate those things that are annoying for him, for the community, and improve on his casting, on her casting. So that's important, and that's also like well, Dan, you had a lot of experience with casting, and you improved a lot. Well, how long are you the
Oh
caster?
man, are we really gonna do that? Okay, so like, what was it? 8, 9 months ago? No, even more than that. Like 10 months ago, when we first started doing our fight night casting. God, I was so awful. Like in terms of just straight up, I had no clue. I was like, well, this is a card that costs 6, so why doesn't he play it now? And then Gnimsh would correct me, or Crip obviously would shoot me down every opportunity he got. This was what happened in the very beginning, because in other games that aren't Hearthstone, you have the ability to kind of discuss what's going on and set up questions. But because it's a card game, it's a lot more technical knowledge. And I realized very quickly, about a month or so after Fight Night started airing, that I needed to start taking this game pretty seriously and study it a lot on a higher level, rather than just kind of understand the terms, understand the cards, and know what the hell a top deck is. I figured that I just take time to study it, and I think this is something that people really don't value as much in other games, like in League of Legends and Dota 2 and StarCraft. There is that ability to do a hype thing, but I feel like even hype guys needs to be able to understand Hearthstone to a strong degree of like what implications every play has, and being able to layer and whatnot. So I'm gonna toss it out there that I think that casters need to be good at this game, and before people start going on like the Chan Man hype hate train. Chan Man is a legend player, okay? He streams his games, he hits legend. He hit legend with Paladin like before people started making it good. And these guys, they're putting time in, they're learning the game. Hafu is an excellent player. She's top 3 for BlizzCon seeds. I don't know if she'll catch Firebat hyped, but she's up there. And a lot of people can't even get anywhere close to that. They can't even break top 100 legend, let alone be in that discussion of BlizzCon seeds. So I think these players, they have the knowledge, they're kind of inexperienced. And if I have to say, just give them time. God, I'm watching the VOD right now, and I remember how bad I sounded and how bad I looked. Who let me go on camera like that?
Well,
I'm done ranting.
Yeah, let's move on,
Kappa.
I guess. 'Cause,
Cool. So, okay, final thoughts. The commentators, they tried their best. The tournament organizers, they did their best. There's complaints about no sound on the VODs, but I do believe that they're going to improve it next time. Prismatic Cup will happen once a month, at least what it sounds like. And if you want more information, you go to prismano.net. And they're always open for feedback as well. So go ahead and send it based off what you guys want to see next time. Moving on to other tournaments, there is a couple of tournaments coming up. This weekend will be VGVN, hosted by One Nation of Gamers, as well as Liquid Hearth. There's going to be 8 players, with 6 of them invited and 2 qualified. 2 of them have been qualified, were Sixo and Lucky. I don't know much about Lucky, but everyone kind of knows about Sixo and his very, very quick legend runs at the beginning of the season, and the fact that he does like to tweak some decks here and there to fit his style. So people have been seeing Sixo's name for a while. Don't really know too much about Lucky. Also important to mention that Colento was announced initially, but he will be replaced by RDU due to Colento's. I don't know exactly the reason why, but I think he was just unavailable to make the dates because he was busy. As a captain
Actually,
of
I have an
Cloud9,
update
can you
on
share
this.
some insight?
Yeah, I have a quick update on this because Colento just returned today, and he was actually thinking that the tournament will be taking place in a couple of days, or like even next week. So he was kind of confused on dates. That's why he just took the trip into the country, and now he's back. But well, he won't be able to make it for the tournament.
Well, that's too bad. I was looking for. I mean, the names are stacked: Forsen, Amaz, Savitz, Reels, Colento, Reynad, and then Sixo and Lucky. That sounds like a really fun tournament. It's going to be casted by Gnimsh and myself, starting on Friday, which is tomorrow. in basically about 30 hours from now, give or take. So make sure to go check that out. I think it's going to be really fun. And Onog also puts on great tournaments, whether it was StarCraft or whatever League of Legends things that they've been putting on. So if you've been checking out their stuff, definitely check out this one in the future.
And definitely give us feedback after the casting. If there's a Reddit thread with 1,000 upvotes,
Yes, be
we'll read it.
gentle, please. Cool. A couple announcements before we go into the Q&A session that we want to just give quick shout outs to. WCA has been announced, which is like this huge prize pool, $200,000 basically. It's going to be hosted in China, so another yet China qualifier of some sort. We don't know if it's invite or it's going to be an open qualifier process. Does either of you guys know at all? Because I think you guys have been talking to some of those organizers, right?
I think I know, but I'm not sure if it actually was announced yet, so I don't want to like spoil it.
Okay, sure. Fair enough. I don't want to force your hand and get you in trouble. I don't really know much about it. I appreciate that, Gnimsh. Some people aren't sure if this tournament's even trustworthy, right? Because if it's a Chinese organization, are they sure to get it? I would say just wait for more details and see how it is. But at the same time, bigger prestige would be pretty sick. So to see a tournament like that would be pretty nuts. A couple other things. Backspace has announced that he's joining Copenhagen Wolves. Backspace is the guy who's been innovating decks, and people know him for the rogue that he put, the aggressive rogue deck that has things like Cold Light Oracles. Gnimsh, you wrote a question here. Was the bathroom selfie a sponsor requirement?
Yeah, kind of. Also, there was a topic on Reddit. Why did Backspace actually use the name of the rogue deck? So did he name himself after the rogue deck?
Wow, some people just have no respect.
Well, to clarify, obviously, like Backspace is a great player. He's great friends with Firebat as well, and he's a good friend of KitKat's. Like we discussed Backspace in detail when Dart was our guest on turn 2, so you can get back and check that one. He's a really good player, and he's obviously the inventor of the Backspace Rogue. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the tournaments. Like he's one of those hidden gems, like player who's really good. He has a really like rich background, but we haven't seen him in the tournaments yet. So like Firebat, if we finally see Firebat, I'm really looking forward to seeing Backspace playing in those tournaments.
Me too. Alchemixt, do you have anything to say about Backspace before we go into the last part of the show?
I don't really know him that well. I've never really had any conversations or anything with him, but I know that a lot of other people think he's a really good player. He made a really good deck, so I don't see why not pick him up. Seems like a good idea to me.
Okay. Well, I'm inclined to agree, and we'll see if it pays off for them as Copenhagen Wolves. Now it's Firebat and Backspace. The last thing we want to say is that there's a new team out. It's an all-German team called Lucky Draw. They're made from former Mana Grind players. But if I have to be a little candid, I don't know too much about any of these guys' accolades. So good luck to Lucky Draw in the future, and hopefully you guys win something. Maybe we'll have you guys on turn 2. So
I can actually like add because most of the guys are European, and those are the stars of Mana Grind from the early beta. They kind of like went under after the release of the game because well then all those teams formed and then they like stole all the splendor. But guys like Timbold, Wurstzeme, Moon, those are the guys who are really constantly like winning the tournaments in the beta period, like MLGs, ESLs.
Okay.
They were winning all of them, like sometimes even 2 tournaments straight, and they were designing decks at the time. So like Moon was a very famous mage player. Wurstzeme was playing mostly Rogue and all iterations of Rogue. And Dimble, I feel like Dimble was playing actually everything and doing good with it. So definitely a strong team here. I hope that they will really like get the fame at some point and then also get the invite to the tournaments.
All right, cool. That's a great way to kind of wrap it up for the general news. We're going to open up a Q&A section in the Twitch chat. So go ahead if you have any questions for either Gnimsh or Alchemixt or myself. Feel free to contribute, whether it's fun or serious. Doesn't really matter to us. So as we take these couple seconds to let the questions start filtering in, Gnimsh and Alchemist will keep an eye on the chat. I'll do a little bit of the homework. Backspace, by the way, we mentioned him. He's going to be joining the iHearthU coaching lineup this week, which you can check out at iHearthU.com/bookcoach. It's on the front page. And if you guys want to book services with like Strifecrow, Gnimsh, Ekop, or any of these other guys that are there, KitKats, you can all find their services on this site. There's also going to be the iHeartU calendar that's new this week. It's on the front page. You can just kind of get access to to the upcoming events, including Turn 2 podcast and everything else. And the last thing we want to mention before we go into the Q&A is that the iHeartU King of the Hill Friday will be between Savitz and Transit, who is a Korean pro gamer. So Savitz will try to keep his throne against the Asian invader, and we'll see maybe some of the Korean talent, the true Korean talent that people have been touting. Maybe Savitz can hold up against that. People kind of, give the Asian metagame a hard time saying that they're behind, but there are a handful of players who are still very good and they can hold it out. Maybe not as many as the Western scene, but there's still a few of them. All right, cool. So we have some questions kind of filtering in. Gnimsh, do you see anything to lead us off with?
Yeah, I see one question that I want to answer actually. Like, it's T1 Red Monkey asking, Gnimsh, why didn't you ask Ben Brode about bots yesterday? So I know that the
It's
bot
tired
monkey.
Tired monkey. T1 Red Monkey.
T1 Red,
it's
like TI14. So basically, like, I didn't ask the bot question and Android question because Ben Brode is a designer and he's not like a Blizzard representative to talk about the Blizzard kind of like position on those things, basically. So being a designer, well, I even asked him about Gamescom and he didn't know stuff about Gamescom, which is natural because he's there working every day to design the game and then make the game better. So like things like botting or like payment problems or like any technical things are not his not his thing. So asking that question would only be rude, I guess, and we probably wouldn't get an answer anyway. So it's more like a Blizzard has to release an official statement after we send them all those letters, like, hey, is botting a problem? Like, what are you going to do with it? So basically, that's the answer for that.
Great. All right. Well, I think it's a good clarification. People wanted to know, like, what will you do about bots or some of these other controversial things like, hacks and whatnot. So, just be mindful that we got a lot of great answers. And you can go check it out at the iHeartU site for the VOD, which was really well done, man. I'm kind of sorry I missed it. I came in a little too late.
I'm still waiting for you to join that VOD.
Cool. So let's pick another one. Let's ask one to Alchemixt. Let's see. Matrix 1987 says, Alchemixt, are you considering as a pro player, when can you play Zoo?
Are you saying when is it good to play Zoo? Is that what?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. English isn't the first language here, so he's probably messing up a little bit of the grammar. But I think the general question is, when do you feel like is a good time to play Zoo? I guess maybe just talk about some of its matchups and the tournament timing, I guess, in the series.
All right, sure. In the tournament, I think you can pretty much always play Zoo as long as the rest of your lineup is pretty decent or like complements it, I guess. But Zoo is like one of those decks where you're not going to auto lose to anything and you're not going to auto win to anything. And some games you're just going to roll over your opponent. The thing that I like about Zoo the most is that all these other decks that are like Ramp Druid, for instance. Let's say you don't draw Wild Growth. Your deck's severely worse. Control Warrior, let's say you get a bunch of your 5-drops and now your hand's all awkward. Zoo is generally going to do the same thing every game. You're going to play a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. You're going to have a coin in there somewhere. You're going to play a bunch of minions. You're going to flood the board, and you're never going to stop. You're constantly, the Warlock hero power is constantly, filtering your hand. So what I like about Zoo is when all these other decks stumble, you don't stumble. You will always do the same thing. So you basically, it's like you flip a coin at the beginning of the game, whatever percentage that may be. If your opponent stumbles, you win. And I just love having that consistency with Zoo.
Fair enough. A kind of follow up to that in terms of just metagame question. Guy Ragan asks, to Gnimsh and Alchemixt, what decks do you like to use to climb the ladder?
Alchemixt first.
The deck that I like to play the most on ladder is Warrior Control, just because that's the one I enjoy playing the most, even though a lot of people peg me as a Zoo and Hunter player. But I'll play whatever. I like playing a lot of decks, so I play everything.
So on my side, I generally like to play the rush decks, so also Zoo and Hunter. But to hype things up, I actually started streaming yesterday, and will be streaming today as well. So I will be climbing ladder on stream
So
mostly. So
find out on Gnimsh's
find
channel.
out on my
How
stream on
else?
my channel.
Twitch.tv/Gnimsh TV. Or
No,
is it
it's
just
just
Gnimsh?
slash Gnimsh, just
Oh
Gnimsh.
man. Why'd you do that? You just ruined everything consistency
Oh,
wise. All
sorry,
right.
sorry. I
Cool.
know.
How about this? Joe asks, kind of again in a similar vein, what do you think is the strongest class and deck out there? I'm guessing you guys might say something like Miracle Rogue, but do you guys think there's another one out there?
Dan.
It definitely was Miracle Rogue in my opinion, but now it's a little more up in the air. I guess I'll just say that I think Zoo is potentially going to get out of control once you add in the Death Rattle guy and some of the other, like maybe even the Zombie Chow. But I'm kind of worried about Zoo, but it might not be as bad as I'm thinking it's going to be.
I honestly don't know. I need to see the things how they develop and how the metagame stabilizes. Like right now, it's pretty rocky because people are testing the new cards. But yeah, definitely, I will be trying out every deck right now. I feel like Druid would be my pick for the strongest deck because it's still very viable. It's using Lothab and the Spectral Knights, it makes it better. So like kind of like a token Druid, but maybe just limit the cards to have just one combo, but a Violet Teacher and Innervates and stuff. So that would be my pick for the strongest deck, I guess.
Yeah, well, because it seems like everyone wants to kind of ask whether or not Miracle is still way too strong. And we've been having a few questions in the chat, so just kind of to field it all from them at the same time. Do you feel like it's still in a state where they need to change it, or are these cards coming out give enough interaction that they don't need to touch something like Gadget Sand or Preparation? Some of these cards that have been under fire recently.
I don't. They might not need to change it. I still think it's always gonna be a really strong deck. The the only reason that I could see them changing it, and I think it's actually the best reason, is it might not always win, but the fact is when it does win, you feel helpless. Like when my opponent plays Gadgetzan Auctioneer and I see them play a preparation, I just go to the bathroom, I go downstairs, I refill my water bottle. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like good game to win. Like it's fine, it's whatever. But some people just hate that, and it's just not good for the game because sure they say that you might get to play your cards and stuff, but you're not really playing anything. You're just all the decisions are on the rogue for the most part. You're just playing your cards and you're hoping for the best, and I think they've
Solitaire.
banned things. They've nerfed things for uninteraction in the past, and I think this is the most uninteractive you could possibly get. So I'm actually kind of surprised that it's taken them this long, well, to still not do anything about it. But that's just me.
I agree.
Fair enough. No follow-ups, Gnimsh?
About the Miracle Rogue being the strongest. Well, we got a lot of cards that actually counter Miracle, so I don't know. We will have to see. But Lothab is good versus Miracle. The Spectral Knight is pretty good. Maybe even the Web Lords. I feel like we need to see all the cards. Like like one more wing and then the a Frostworm Lair. And after we get all 30 cards, the metagame will really shape up because that will be the most important moment. Right now, it's all fun and giggles with the new cards every week, but the real game starts after 2 weeks.
Sure, and that's why it's fun to see all these tournaments happening throughout the cycles of release, because you do get to see how some people are adapting. But once all 30 cards are out, I completely agree with you. It's going to be a real big chaotic mess where, like, well, this energizes, week 5 wings are actually good with week 2s, and week 1 good with week 4s. It'll be fun. It'll be fun for sure. I guess this is a general question to everything about being a pro player and being able to sustain. I don't remember because I'm scrolling through the questions, but I do believe it was a question. Oh yeah, drop the doc says, do you think you can play Hearthstone as a pro as a job without being a popular streamer of some sort? And I think this question really pertains to like Alchemist because you do stream on Azubu and not many people see the kind of exposure on that channel at least. So how is it kind of being a Hearthstone pro if you don't really have the income from stream revenue and the millions of donations that you read on stream at a time?
Well, I do have another source of income. I do have a part-time job that I work online, so I'm not reliant solely on Hearthstone. But uh, you might be able to if you're good enough. But I would strongly not recommend just drop. I don't recommend quitting your job. Let's say that. But the thing is, like, this is just an example, by the way. I'm just using this as an example. It's the first thing that pops in my head. Let's say a Maz goes to a tournament and he loses. Let's say he goes to 2 more tournaments that week and he loses again. At the end of the day, he's going to go back on on Twitch and he's going to have 20,000 to 40,000 people watching him. Great. If I lose or someone else loses, 3 games, 3 of their most recent tournaments, like, you kind of fall off the map a bit. People forget about you. You're not as relevant. So, as far as not being a popular streamer, it adds a lot of pressure because you don't have anything to fall back on, and if you're not putting up constant results, then you run the risk of basically becoming irrelevant.
That's a fair criticism. Gnimsh, well, he's on the train to become a popular streamer as he's starting to stream today. Do you have any follow-up questions though? Because I think you were also working a part-time job, or full-time job really, until recently.
Yeah, I have a full-time job, but right now I took 3 months off to be able to focus on streaming and rest as well. So I will be providing a lot of content to the viewers. But yeah, I agree with Alchemixt. Tournaments basically are not a sustainable model because first, there is not enough tournaments to actually sustain yourself. Second, you are if you're really good, you're earning money long term, but it's really hard to sustain yourself with that. It's kind of similar to poker. It's like with tournaments, just earning money and losing money is it's really hard to earn money every month. It's like every month you're losing money, and then there is this one tournament that you can actually win and you go up. But in Hearthstone it will be super difficult, especially with players getting better and better and more players coming into the scene. So tournament model will be super hard to sustain. But the Twitch model is fine. But on the other hand, it's yeah, it's tough as well. So basically, I wouldn't recommend dropping any jobs for Hearthstone as well.
I would agree. I think Hearthstone isn't also as nearly practice intensive as some of these other games. You see Dota players practicing one combo for 10 hours, or StarCraft guys, really just getting their builds down for 8 to 12 hours a day. I don't think you really need to do that for Hearthstone. I think as long as you're constantly strategizing, understanding the game, and being smart, you don't necessarily need to dedicate that much time in one day. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some Koreans will show me up, and and I don't hope this happens, but maybe Transit starts going on an insane killing spree and starts showing the Korean dominance. I don't know. I'm not sure. We have time for one more question. Let's see. This one's an interesting one. Ark asks, do you think the low amount of new cards released and the future new cards will stall the game out and make new players not want to join due to payment/grind for the old and new cards?
So he's basically saying if someone joins this game 2 years from now, will it prevent them, having to obtain all these new cards that come out be an issue? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, how do you think Blizzard should tackle the concept that the later someone enters, the higher the barrier of entry is to Hearthstone, I guess?
I don't really know. That's a hard question. I'm not really the person to ask about that, I guess. I don't really know. As long as they're all accessible in some way or another, whether you buy packs, crafting. I think the crafting thing probably sums it up, because you don't need every single card in Hearthstone to play, especially if you're new. If you want to, maybe you want to pay, $50 and buy 40 packs and craft, the deck that you want. I think that's a good option. I guess I don't think it's necessary to have all of the cards at first when your new player comes in. They can craft it if they want and spend money or grind arenas.
I actually have a couple of ideas here, because it might be a problem if nothing is done. It's right now we have the expert set and we have Naxxramas, and a new player starts playing and he's facing he's just playing the game, and he's facing all those players who paid and they have Naxxramas, for example, and they play spiders, and he's like, oh yeah, those are cool, and I just bought the boosters for my expert packs, and then he's like, oh, I want the spider, how can I get it, can I craft it? And then he realizes that he can't actually craft it because he has to buy more, he has to buy Naxxramas. And even further in the future, when we have the big set and also other adventure modes, there will be more and more cards, and if the cards go on kind of like a power curve, and the cards from the new sets are better than the old ones, the new player might have problems with like winning games actually, because he will be playing only with the expert set. So obviously, this might be a problem, but I feel like Blizzard will actually tackle it. There is a couple of ways, like maybe when releasing the next adventure mode, being for example, I don't know, Firelands in a year maybe, or in a like 8 months, they can make Naxxramas being discounted, like, or just give it for free. It's like it will be also like a great way, because by that time, like in a year, they would monetize enough on the content that they actually sold, and the cards will be, well, mostly everyone playing the game will have the cards. So giving it for free to the new players would be an awesome thing. Like, hey, just come play the game and try this free mode so that you can get those free cards. And all the old players will be so happy, because they will be getting the Firelands, for example, the adventure mode. So just do those things to make the game more accessible when more cards are released, so that the old players, they always have a chance to get the new cards for a reasonable price, and the new players, they can get the older cards in a discounted way and make the old content more accessible for them.
I think that's a great point to finally end things on. I couldn't have said it better myself. Blizzard will eventually have this problem, but I'm sure that they have ways to address it. And to be quite honest, like every TCG has this barrier, but that doesn't stop people from getting into Magic now. People still like playing Magic even recently. So as time goes on, it's up to really the developer to kind of figure out ways to make it interesting, which Blizzard has shown time and time that they probably can. I mean, they kept WoW alive for so long, and yet people are still getting hyped for Warlords of Draenor, including this guy sitting one box to the left of me, or to the right, excuse me.
Oh yeah.
Or to the left, depending on where I'm sitting on the panel.
Dude, so hyped.
Cool. Well, I think that's all the time we have for questions. We have to wrap up. It's coming up to the 2-hour mark, and Twitch will close out VODs past 2 hours. So we got to wrap it up. Let's do some final comments and shout outs. Alchemixt, you are the guest. You go first.
All right. Yep. Shout out to my sponsors: Alienware, Cooler Master, Energems, and Astro Gaming. Shout out to Dart for helping me, and he also helped Firebat with the WC qualifiers. And shout out to Sludge Belcher. That card's awesome.
Sick. Love it. 3-7, or sorry, 4-7, but staggered. It's amazing. Gnimsh, your turn.
So shout out to Cloud9 team and our sponsors: HyperX, Logitech, Air Force Reserve, Fallen Low Class, Need for Speed, Homejoy, and Sidequick. And big shout out to Frodan for hosting today's show, and Simon for doing all this stuff on the backend side of things. You can follow me on Twitter on Gnimsh TV, and follow me on Twitch as well on twitch.tv/Gnimsh. I started streaming yesterday. I will be streaming almost every day, like, if possible.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, for me, quick shout out to the best team in Hearthstone, Tempo Storm, and congratulations to the Gara and Tides for taking down 2 huge tournaments this past weekend, and hopefully more in the future. Check things out. Become legendary at TempoStorm.com. All right. Well, I'm done selling out for that. I also want to give a shout out to Gnimsh for helping me a lot with Taiwan and getting us through. Shout out to the 4Gamers guys for making me have one hell of a weekend in Taipei. And yeah, I'd like to kind of thank Simon as well for putting out a good broadcast and being really faithful for iHeartU stuff. Oh, also shout out to Savitz. I was really happy he was able to win the past couple of times he showed up, and with iHeartU's King of the Hill as well as the Deck Wars yesterday. So happy for the guy. That's it for Turn 2 episode number 31. Make sure to check out more stuff at iHeartU.com for all things like guides, articles, news, podcasts, and COTS. Make sure to hit the follow button on the Twitch channel, because we'll be back next week, maybe a little bit earlier depending on schedules, because I think Gnimsh is going to Gamescom. But we'll let you guys know more of that in the upcoming days. Other than that, it's been real from Frodan, Gnimsh, and Alchemixt. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.